Good afternoon. Today is Tuesday, May 11th. This is Patrick, and you are trading with Prime. We're going to take a look at a few charts today. I want to go over the broad market with you guys, what happened in the markets today. We're going to get into that. And is today's low a low that you can be long against? We're going to talk about that. Or is the market going to set up for something that we can short? We're going to also talk about that. We'll also dive into members' charts. If you guys would like to be a member of the Discord, feel free to check out the link under the description of the video. Let's get into it. First thing we're looking at is SPY. One thing I noticed this morning going into the morning bounce, we did take a couple long positions today looking for just a bounce trade. They were day trades. So yeah, we'll talk about that here in a second. And the other one is we did take a trade in the IWM to the long side. It's a light swing position, and I'm going to kind of dive into that. We'll try to wrap up through this pretty quickly, so I'll go over the basically the gist, and then we can hopefully get some numbers for you guys as far as what to look out for coming into tomorrow, the rest of the week. What I'm anticipating at this point, I don't know if it's actually going to happen or not, but one thing that I'm looking at is a possible bounce scenario into the next, I don't know, the next day or two. But there's a little bit of caveat to that, which is if we get anywhere near today's low, and I have the number, it's 411.43. We find ourselves below 411.43. I don't know if today's low is going to hold, so that would be kind of a warning area for you guys. Something that I also think is more probable scenario, as far as if we are going to take a long trade, instead of taking long trades at actual support, sometimes it's better to let the market do its thing, let it kind of create like higher low scenarios. That would give us a better risk versus reward, higher probability setup, instead of trying to pick a bottom in here and say, this is going to be the low and we're going to pick the bottom. We don't necessarily know just yet if this bottom is going to hold or not. And we will know for sure tomorrow or the next day. Looking at the lower time frames in the SPY, something, I don't know if you can hang your hat on it, but as far as numbers that we could look at, I did notice this trend line in here. I put this up in the Discord this morning, and I kind of said, well, I'd have to actually go look at what I said. My scenario is this definitely can hold. As of right now, based on the close, this definitely can hold. I don't know if it's going to. I don't feel like this price action is necessarily all that bullish other than it being at support. I think the price action that we saw today is more of in the bearish scenario, only because of the drop down. It looks like a bear flag forming, and I don't know if that's going to hold. But right now, if we get above today's high, I would expect higher prices. I don't mean to sound obvious. Obviously, we're going to see higher prices above today's high. But if we get near today's lows, like I said, 411.43, that's something to look out for on the hourly time frame. Again, swing trades, I would wait for higher prices, not just higher prices, but wait for some high prices, wait for a little bit of sell-off action, creating a higher low scenario before going long. This was a lot of damage that was done. The reason why, and those of you who are in the Discord, you know that we shorted this yesterday. The reason why we took a short trade was not just the hang up in here, but if you saw the rest of the markets, which we're going to get into here in a second, if you saw the rest of the markets, the IWM, the QQQ, the SMH, there was a lot of divergences that were going on. And for that reason, and not to mention the confirmation was a failed breakout, the market broke out in this area, and there's no reason why it should have came back down below 420 especially. There was really no reason. It could have been running a test down at these lower breakout areas on the hourly time frame, but there's really no reason why it should have closed the day down there if it was just running a test. And so that was kind of the telltale sign that it was probably going to put in lower prices. So this morning we closed out that SPY short trade. For those of you guys who caught that, well done. And I do like this green hourly reversal candle, and the candle that I'm talking about is this one right here. This is the green hourly reversal candle. So I think we can definitely be long against the low of that, but I'm not saying that go long here and use the low of today as a stop loss. I think we can manage risk a little bit better than that. I think we wait for the pullback, wait for it to build up a little bit of a higher low scenario, get us closer to the risk point, because once we get below this point, we know that we're wrong in the trade. And like I said, this line going across the screen right here, I think if we get below that, I think that will be a warning sign that, this low might not hold. Okay, QQQ. I actually like the QQQ chart a little bit better than I do like the SPY chart. And the reason why is if I pull up the daily chart on the Qs, overall this does look a lot more toppy to me. And I'm going to go to another chart here in a second and show you what the bigger picture looks like. But this high that was put in back here on 216, and then since then we've been consolidating around that price, and we finally broke through. And then on Friday's candle was the so the market sold off a little bit. Friday it tried to rally, it could not really get anywhere. It really just went up and closed a gap, creating some sort of entry point for people who did take that short trade. And here we are down at opening the day down here around 319. The reason why I like the QQQ chart a little bit better than the SPY is if you are long, we do have a breakout area back here, and it's at this area back here. So that would be a good area to go ahead and take a long trade as far as swing trades are concerned. I didn't actually enter a trade in the QQQ for a swing trade. I don't like entering these when they look this bearish to me. But then again, we could see a bounce in the next couple days. I think it's going to have a lot of trouble getting it back above 328.22. If I zoom in a little bit here, it might have a hard time getting through today's high, but above that, I think it'll have a hard time getting back above this 328.70 area, 328. What did I just tell you guys a minute ago? Let's call it 328.50, somewhere in there. If we can get above this area in here, which will have two more moving averages, I think you'll see some resistance up here around 332.90, but I'm not necessarily calling for higher prices. I'm not convinced. I'll tell you guys right now, I'm not 100% convinced today's low is the low. I think what it is it's the market got a little bit ahead of itself to the downside, and it needs to consolidate before breaking through the support. I think it needs a little bit more time. So what I'm kind of looking for is something that does this, where we see a bounce in here. Maybe it'll consolidate like this and then begin to roll over. I'm looking for another lower high. Here's a high. Here's a lower high. I'd be looking for another lower high, and that's what I think the highest probability is right now, is another lower high. Until that happens, though, we can look for some sort of bounce into that area and then decide at that point in time in the next few days, within the next week, really decide, excuse me, really decide and do technical analysis to really figure out what's going on. But right now, I think this is just a dead cat bounce. We will see what happens over the next couple days. And let's do this actually before I get off of the Qs. Remember the monthly chart? We were talking about the short trade for the last couple months, and this is the reversal candle as far as the warning. We've been talking about this for a few months now. Here's the warning on the QQQs. That is a reversal candle. You can be short against the high on a monthly time frame. And the way you would be stopped out is if the chart closed monthly above this 338.19. And so this month right here was a month of April. The closing price of April was 337.99. So we still have not eclipsed that high. So you can still stay in this longer term short trade if you are in that short trade. Just be mindful also that could take out a really long time to play out, and we could definitely take out that high. It's just something to be cautious of, be mindful of. Is this a place on the chart that you would want to take a long trade in some of your long-term positions, or would you rather lower prices maybe around 300 or to get a little bit better of a deal or consolidation? Let's go to IWM. IWM, we have the same scenario where the IWM has a lot of room that it can come down and still be bullish on a monthly time frame. In fact, it could come down to $180 and still be bullish on a monthly chart. And so what we do have on the IWM is we have this reversal candle, same one. It was back in January. We have a reversal candle here, which the high was 234.53. Excuse me, that was in March. 234.53. You can be short against that high, meaning that you can take a short trade at any point in time, knowing full well if you get above 234.53 on a monthly time frame. Excuse me. If you get above 234.53 on a monthly time frame, you would be stopped out of that trade. And that's kind of how that would work. Let's go down to a lower time frame. So lower time frame, it looks like more consolidation. I don't like that it's bouncing on support. We could do that, or we could even take a trend line and say, you know, let's put a trend line up like this. So you can kind of see why it came into that trend line. It's finding support right in that area. Plus you have this horizontal support. And I believe that horizontal support is more important than trend lines. And the reason why is I think trend lines, you can just keep moving. Like here's one. We could say it broke trend right here, and then we're not happy with it, so we'll move the trend line over here, and we're still not happy with it, so we'll move it over here. With trend lines, you can get a little bit dicey. Horizontal is pretty straightforward. If it gets below this price, It's not good. If it gets above this price, it is good. So I like horizontal. I think that horizontal prices, the chart respects horizontal prices more than trend lines. What do I think is going on right here? Again, I think it's a dead cat bounce. We did take a light swing trade long side, and the reason why we took a light is because I'm not convinced that selling is over. I think that this is just a market where it pulled back a little bit. As far as you have these down moves in here, it's pulling back and then it's getting ready for another down move. The only thing is I don't know that it's going to do that yet, and I know that's funny because I just took a long trade in the IWM today, but that's why I didn't go pretty heavy in the IWM. I just took a long trade at support. I'll add to the position if we do take out these highs up here around 225.31. I would then add to that position. Okay, is that all that we wanted to look at for those? SPY, QQQ, we looked at IWM. I think that's it for those as far as the broad market goes. And let's go ahead and go to members charts. UUU. This is the first one. This kind of has the same kind of look as the IWM. And the thing is I don't like being underneath this red candle here. This is a reversal candle. Something I want to kind of point out is you do have a reversal candle up here, which held true since then. And the market bounced right here, providing short traders another opportunity, trading it short against the high up here around 783. So here's a lower high. And recently it was another scenario where this also was another area to do another short trade at because you're looking for that lower high scenario. I know it's hard to see on the daily chart, but if you do like the lower high scenario, or maybe even this, you have a left shoulder, a head, a right shoulder. It's not necessarily a head and shoulders until you break the neckline anyway, but it's just something to be mindful of as far as if you're long, consider looking at this like, well, is this a topping pattern? Is this bearish or is this bullish? One thing is for sure though, there's going to be some resistance up here. So if let's say in the next couple days, UU, which is energy fuels, if that can get up here, up this red candle, if for any reason it starts closing above this price area here, let's call it $6, let's say tomorrow or the next day, I think it's higher likelihood that we do go up and challenge this, the high of this candle up here, which is $6.42. There will be significant resistance up at that area because I believe that it's, well, let's do this. If I take the high of this candle, kind of pull it over, there's going to be some resistance up there. And so if we pull up there again, I'm not saying that we can't break through that area. I just think that it'll take a little bit more energy. Maybe it'll do a higher low, higher low, and then maybe break out. It'll take a few times of hitting against that number before the chart will break out through that area, in my opinion. So let's see what happens over the next couple days. Can you be long against the low down here? I think you can. I think that today was a good place to go long. I just wouldn't chase price higher is all I'm saying. I would wait for the higher low. TSM, same scenario. I wouldn't chase price. Today's low could have been a low as far as buying it at support. Something else that could be going on in this one, I just noticed this, is if I pulled a chart like this and I did one of these, it looks like maybe this is going on and then we'll have a breakout. If that is the case, it'll find resistance. It'll find resistance again. And then I think you could buy those higher low kind of scenarios. I don't know about buying at support anymore on this one. Like let's say, and that goes for the IWM as well. If for any reason price, let's say it rallies a little bit and pulls back to this level, I don't think that buying it at support would no longer, I don't think it would be, you could use that in this trade as far as buying it at support. I think that it'd be higher probability trade would be waiting for the actual breakout at that point. The reason why is, again, like we've talked about in the past, we don't like bouncing balls bouncing into support like this because they usually fall through, like we've seen in a lot of charts recently. SQ. SQ, same scenario. How many times can it bounce at support before it falls through? So unless you see enough time in there, and what I mean by time is, here's the ball is bouncing from support. There's time in here, ball bounce from support, time. And then you had a little bit more time in this recent price action where the ball bounced at support. You had some time in here. So let's say it was tomorrow or the next day. I would definitely not be a buyer. But if it's in a month from now or a few weeks from now, I think that would be okay to buy at support. But the more times it bounces at support, it's going to want to fall through. So just be careful. I wouldn't chase price to the long side if you're not already long in this trade. I wouldn't chase it higher. Like let's say tomorrow, if we gap higher in the morning, if we see higher prices, If for any reason it opens the day down here around $2.10, I think, or excuse me, $210, I think that is a buy. I think it's a buy and you could treat that low as your risk. Right. Thank you guys for these charts. I appreciate it. Again, feel free to hit the like button if you gain value out of this, and subscribe, bell notification. We usually go live Sundays, but it was Mother's Day, so forgive me. Oh, forgive me. Okay, Riot, same scenario. It definitely can be a viable scenario. We did have a gap back here on 2.5, and it did not even get down to the gap, which is around $23.64. We do have support up here the next day, which was around 2.8, which is probably why we found, part of the reason why we found support today. In fact, if I draw a line across here, and if I do one of these, you can kind of see back here, if I pull up a different color here, you can kind of see back here on this day, which was 1.8, right? Market ran up into that area, had a hard time getting through, ran into the area, broke out, sold off from that level. And you can see the reactions that it has with this price area, which is like a pivot on a larger time frame. And then finally, to get over that, and the reason why we know it's a very important price area is because the market or the chart, or in this case Riot, gapped above that price to get above it. It could not get above that price and start closing above the price. It had to gap over there when nobody was looking, and so we had that gap and go, and since then it's taken off from that area. So that's probably why, not the only reason why, but a big reason why the market, or why Riot found support in that area. Not to mention the down move recently, and then you have this consolidation pointing out to lower prices, which the market, the chart finally saw. And this type of price action where it's pretty heavy momentum down into an important area like this is a reason why, and I just realized this, I drew a heart for those of you guys who are in this trade. The thing is that that's why it found support down in this area, was the velocity coming into an area on the chart that was a prior breakout area and an area of support and resistance on a larger time frame. I think that's why the support, or why the buyer showed up there. The only thing is I wouldn't chase price. So let's say we have a gap higher in the morning. I'm not one, you can if you want, but I'm not one to chase price. Let's say if it gaps higher in the morning. I also think that something we should be careful of, we should look out for, is we do have several support areas in here. And since Riot broke through support, I would expect there to be some sort of resistance back up in that area. A price target right now, if I was in a Riot trade, is I would believe that this area would be a good area to not dump all the shares that you're in or the contracts you're in, but maybe close half of them or close some of them, waiting for further evidence of technical analysis, higher prices. And what do I mean by that? I mean, wait for a higher low. Wait for the higher lows. Let it pinch up here in higher lows above this resistance area, and then take it long to the upside on a entry, providing yourself with the highest probability, lowest risk trade setup. And then again, you could use those higher lows. If that was the case, you could use the stop loss just underneath those pivots. But this is of course on a daily time frame. This is not the hourly chart or anything. So this is for your swing trades. There's going to be some resistance around $33.60, some more resistance around $36.58, and then definitely up here around $38.76, all resistance areas. And that wraps it up with this video. If you guys have gained value, feel free to hit the like button. Join I can't tongue twister. The link of the Discord is in the description of the video, and we see you guys in the next video.